How are you?
Good. How are you? Hi. So welcome to our live session. I'm waiting for one more guest. I'm just going to try and invite him. Just hang on a
Okay.
sec. Um, yeah. So he's already been invited. I think he's just waiting to get online. So I'll re-invite him. Great. Okay. So, hi everyone. So today, we welcome to Blissful Mind, Peaceful Life, where we discuss creative solutions to everyday problems. So today the topic is self-care. I'm so happy to have all of you here because you all have your own pages which are dedicated to beautiful topics about self-care. So it's nice to have your expertise. And so thank you for joining us. And I'll just give a quick introduction. So self-care entails a lot of things. There's the physical care, the mental health care, and then there's care of your environment, care of your friendships, spiritual care, and a lot of other facets. So today we'll be discussing tips to help our viewers to improve their self-care and well-being. So we're going to start with introductions. So I'm going to start with Ranjana. So please give our viewers an introduction.
Thank you, Dr. Shanti Rao. It's so nice to be here. Your discussions are always so motivating, and today you've taken up such an important topic, because a lot of people are struggling with self-care. And
Yeah.
about me, I am Ranjana Kamo from India. I am a banker turned author and a motivational speaker. I'm a chartered accountant, an MBA in finance, and also a master black belt in Six Sigma. I have about 25 years of work experience in the banking and finance sector. I have published 14 books till now. My latest book is titled Mission Work Life Harmony, which deals with work life harmony, and a lot of topics cover self care. And I also run a YouTube channel where I like to help people find calm in the chaos of life. So
That's
that is,
really great. I think a lot of viewers would benefit from reading your book, and you've written a lot of books, but the latest one is about some topics related to self-care. So thank you for coming, and we look forward to hearing your ideas. And
thank
so
you
tell
so
me a little bit about yourself, your name and your background. I'm the next guest.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Hi. First of
Hi.
all, thank you so much for inviting me on this live. I really enjoy your content and I love your pictures. You guys, if you haven't checked her out, she's an amazing artist. I mean, I love everything that you put out. You're so talented and it's great to meet both of you. This is such an honor to be on this live with you guys. So yes, once you reached out to me and wanted me to discuss self-care, I was on board. My name is Sam and I am a life coach and I specialize in life coaching with self-care at the center. Now, I'm so glad that you're doing this live because I think a lot of people don't really know what self-care actually is, which was myself before I actually researched it. So
Yeah.
self-care is it's such an amazing thing and it's so important. A lot of people don't think it's important, but it really truly is. I mean, it's your mental health. It's got a lot to do with your mental health, and I really truly feel that we need to take care of our mental health because without our mental health, our physical health will not be able to flourish. So I would love to read your book as well. I'm working on a book myself. It's not going to be done anytime soon, but that's my next step. So great for I'm so like great for you for doing that book because that's one thing I want to do. So yeah, I've been in Instagram for a few months now, and yeah, I'm just a life coach trying to build up my business and trying to promote self care. And I would be happy to talk to anyone that has any more questions about self care.
That's really great. I'm so happy to have you. I have checked out your page and it's incredible. So everyone, please do check it out. She has a lot of valuable information and tips that she's sharing. And so I think that you would benefit by checking it out. And she's put it out so beautifully. The layout of her page is beautiful. So definitely check it out. And yeah, so I'm not letting in another guest here. So just one sec. Oh, hold on. No, that was not the guest. So anyway, getting back to self-care, we're going to start with questions. So the first is, can you please share some of, your self-care tips that you use in your own daily life? So we'll start with Ranjana.
Thank you. I have a number of tips, but I will not go into the macro level tips. I'll go into the micro level ones because then the people can relate to it. So one thing that I really stress upon is my time in nature. I spend a lot of time in nature, which is actually my me time. I like to watch the sunrise, the sunset. I love watching flowers, the birds and butterflies, and I really spend time outside listening to the birds' song. So that is how the day starts. Gives me a good boost. That is one of the things. The other
That's
thing
so
that
beautiful.
Thank you. And the other thing is about taking care of health. So I really advocate home cooked meals. I avoid junk food as much as I can. And I also go for walks, or if I cannot go for a walk, I do cycling at home. So I definitely,
That's great.
yeah, thank you. And that's something that I don't give up. Even
Yeah,
if it is, yeah, even if I'm feeling lazy or tired, I still tell myself that I have to do it. Apart
that's
from
really
that,
great. I'm just going to interrupt. So the viewers are probably wondering that there's another person. So I'm going to quickly let them know who this is, and then we'll come back to your tips. Is that okay? Yeah.
sure.
So we have our valuable guest, Mr. B.R. Gururaj, joining us. And unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, he was not able to join the introductions earlier. But can you briefly just tell our viewers a little bit about you?
Yeah, I'm Guru Raj. I am from Bangalore, India, and I'm an IT professional, and I also do many social activities. Basically, I analyze a lot of social beings, like social analytics. So that's about my short
That's really great.
introduction.
Thank you. And then when we get to your answer of the question, then you add in more, okay? So Ranjana,
okay.
you were telling us, I'll just recap. So initially our first question was about what self-care means to you and what your personal self-care practice is. So Ranjana was explaining about how she loves to go in nature, which is a great tip. She also mentioned about eating healthy, nutritious, home-cooked food. And then you were discussing about some other tips, so keep going.
Yes, thank you. The next tip is about taking breaks in between work. So if I work for an hour, I give myself 5 to 10 minutes of break, and then I resume my work. Because if I do not do that, then my productivity slows down. So these breaks really help me a lot. They help me relax and recharge myself. Apart from that, I try to do something new every day. If I cannot do something new, I try to tweak my schedule a bit so that it becomes different. It's not the same monotonous routine. So if I have to do something new, it could be like doing a new puzzle, probably reading a new book, or if I'm driving down somewhere, I might take a different route so that the day has something new to offer me. So that is one thing that I do. Apart from that, I do spend time in my prayer, and I always try to appreciate others for what they do. And one thing that I really like doing is smiling at myself in the mirror and then smiling at everyone I meet, even the strangers. So people might think she's crazy, but I like to do that because it energizes me. So that is one thing I do, and I am always very grateful for all the blessings that God has bestowed upon me because I'm really thankful for that. So being grateful, I think, keeps you grounded and keeps you in
That's
check.
really nice.
And the one important thing that I really am very particular about are the boundaries, because I try to block the negative people and emotions so that they don't disrupt my well-being and my schedule. So these are the main points. There are some other things that I do, but this covers it.
That's really great. So a lot of valuable tips for our viewers. So remember, everyone, she has shared a lot of tips about being with nature. Then she does physical activity. She has the biking. Then there's also the key point I really liked was that's new is taking the importance of taking breaks to energize yourself and a lot more tips. So that's great. Thank you for sharing. Now we'll go to Gururaj. So what are your personal self-care tips for the viewers?
Yeah, my points are very simple actually. Like one is being in an IT profession. Like whatever I do in my to-do list in the previous day, nothing happens in the next day. So everything goes which is unplanned. So the what I think in the previous day, the next day when I go to office, everything will be in a reverse order. So the best thing what I followed is like practically thinking like the consciousness of being happy in your life. Okay, the constant consciousness. You should always try to think of yourself that I should be happy. I should not disturb my mind. I should not take any negative things into my mind. Okay, so I always be happy and try to achieve that happiness always in a day. So this brings me lots of like unplanned discipline actually. Like when I start my work, okay, this consciousness will prompt me to do some good things and will at least it will take care of I can think that okay, there is some good thing I should take care of my health. So that is also one prompt. It comes out of this. So this is the point I follow every day. So I always think that I should be happy. I should never feel bad, or I should never feel I should not take any negative things into my mind. I always try to help others and look your happiness in their happiness. Okay, so I always try to do this, and that is my most important one. And the second one is I try to do something new, which is not in my profession. Though I am a IT profession, so I try to do some new dishes in my house. I started my cooking. So then I now that has become my regular activity now. So I feel my happiness in doing some new dishes and feeding to my family and seeing happiness. If they give some new good comments about my dishes, I feel very happy about that. So that is another one. Then the most another important one is go for a walk. You should go alone actually. Like you can go alone, go to some nice nature related walks. That is you walking in a park, watching some animals, listening to birds. Many like any other people do actually. So this gives you lots of happiness, and also it improves your health, because most of the disease which comes to our body, it's all through our mind only. If our mind is happy, then automatically there won't be any disease for us. Okay, if we are filled with some sorrow or unhappiness or negativity in our head, then automatically our health goes down. I have experienced this in my past, in my life. So and I have also experienced this from one of my senior elder person who is around 80 years now, and he is still very health and fit actually. He can claim any number of steps, and he is very much stronger than me. So when I asked him what is the secret of your good health, he said that don't take any negativity into your mind. Always try to be happy and eat good food. That means we should not eat any junk foods or oily foods. Prepare your own food which is healthy and eat it. So that food also matters a lot for any people to be happy. If you eat a junk food, the chances of being keeping your mind happy is very less. That's what I have experienced. Okay, so these are all some few points. And drink lots of warm lukewarm water every day as much as possible. That also keeps your body healthy. Yeah, these are all my
Wow,
points.
this is so valuable. So what I really stood out is, firstly, you mentioned nature, which is a common thread with Ranjana, and exercise, regular walking. And then you mentioned about daily setting your intention. So your intention is to be happy. So what that means is that other people, they may be anyway. Situations may be out of control, right? But you set that intention early in the morning that you will be stable and happy and pleasant no matter what the ups and downs of life. And also that you will not internalize others' negativity. Because a lot of people will throw different things like criticism at us and negativity, or try to, sabotage our, work. And you will not take that personally, but realize that's their own struggle, and that's their own pain that they're projecting on us. But you don't have to consume it. So you are just keeping, today my theme for the art was swan. So you're going to be like a swan. So you'll float above all the mud and dirt, but you won't consume it. You remain white, pristine, the pristine white feathers a swan has, the purity. You'll remain pure in spite of all the negativity thrown at you. So that's important. So to remain happy and blissful, but it takes work, and you have to set the intention, and you have to be very firm about it. And then you mentioned about eating healthy homemade food. You both had that common thread. And so the idea for you is the creative self-care of cooking. So you enjoy the benefits of homemade food. You cook it, you enjoy preparing, and then you enjoy serving, and then the kindness that goes with that. And then family tends to appreciate you also. So you're creating this happy world for yourself. It's not something you have been given. You take the initiative in your doing. And so all of these things are adding up for a very happy life. That's a really wonderful way of putting it. Thank you. I appreciate it. So now, Sam, I would love to hear how your self-care practice works.
Yeah, so I just want to say I loved everything you just said. Being intentional about what we're doing is so important. So everything you just said was awesome. Thank you so much. So for me, I feel like putting mindfulness and being intentional and being mindful about everything you do. So it's so important to remember when we first wake up in the morning, we have to be mindful about what we're doing, right? If we're just going through the motions, maybe turning on the TV, maybe if you have kids, rolling out of bed, getting them ready in a routine, or checking your phone, like a lot of us do. But if we be mindful and say, no, I'm not going to start my day like that. I'm not going to start my day with how other people are living. I'm not going to worry about what's on my phone right now. I'm going to be mindful by reading a book that I really love. It's like, start your day with reading a book. Start your day with writing in your journal of how you feel. Also, taking, a closer look at how you're feeling in the morning emotionally, because I don't know about you guys, but for me, I feel like everyone's different in their own way, and everyone deals with their emotions and their feelings in their own way. I think that we do that, but we also are such complex people that sometimes on a certain day where you may not want to read a book, maybe on a certain day you just want to, do affirmations or do breathing exercises in the morning. Sometimes you don't want to do that, So just take into consideration how you're feeling that day is one big thing that I always try to do. And I always try to start my morning focusing on me, okay? Even if it's like only 15 minutes, only if you have time for 15 minutes that morning, because you may have kids or you may have a lot going on, just take that 15 minutes and do something for yourself. Breathe, meditate, write your journal. Affirmations are also a big thing for me. Affirmations are so powerful, and the way we talk to ourselves is so important. So that's one thing that I try to do is I try to be intentional about my mornings. I also try to be intentional about the way I talk to myself. Now, one of the reasons why I started my self-care journey is because I noticed how I was talking to myself. I was not talking to myself very nicely, and that's the way I grew up. But it's hard to break from that. It's hard to break from your self-talk and saying, no, I'm not going to do that to myself anymore, because where has that gotten me? Nowhere, right? It never gets you anywhere good by telling yourself all these negative things. But when you start to talk to yourself as you would a best friend or a loved one every day, it starts to change your mind. It starts to create self-belief. And I feel like if we can just be self-believing and self-worth, have enough self-worth for us, we cannot, there's no like end to what we can do. We can do anything really, because everything that everyone has accomplished, whether it's a celebrity or a public figure you look up to, or someone that is real, like just someone that you really admire, they started from where you were, but most of them. And the only difference is that they believed in themselves and they were able to accomplish the things that they wanted to accomplish. So that brings me back to why self-care is so important. Why believing in ourselves is so important. Because if we can do that, think of how many people we can help. You know, if we have a platform where we're able to, you know, put out a book, or we're able to put out a video that gets, you know, millions of views, that's possible. I mean, it's possible for anyone that wants to do that. We just got to believe in ourselves. And so self-belief and self-worth is really important to me. And also being intentional, where you're being intentional about what you're eating. Because like you said before, it's so important not to eat a bunch of processed junk. I live in America. I think you guys are all in different countries, but I'm in America. And America is famous for processed junk food. I'm sure you guys all know that. So many other countries eat so much better than we do. I'm from Korea. I was technically born in Korea. And I feel like if I stayed there, I would be so much better at eating, because they eat very well over there. But now I'm like, I don't like the food. But because I grew up in an American home, it's because I feel like that's one of the reasons why I don't like it. But I wish I did, because they eat so much more healthy. So it's hard to break that habit of growing up, and breaking the habit from what you're used to, you know, and what you were brought up with. But I think that if we're mindful and intentional about what we do, and you know, and we tell ourselves that we're bigger than what we grew up with, then, you know, we can be whatever we can do and be whatever we want to be. And so that's my belief in self-care, and that's why self-care to me is so important.
Wow. I'm impressed with your answers. So that's really, really helpful. So to summarize, what I heard was, number one, we all have to put ourselves first. So you have family members, you have people you care for, you have people, your clients, but you know, you have to be strong. So the idea is like a lifeguard. So the lifeguard, if you're not in good shape, and say your family is sinking and they're drowning, and you go out and you try to save them, you drown and they drown. But if you do your self-care on your own self, you do your regular self-care, you're in great shape. And then when your family's drowning, you can go in and easily pull them out, right? So you mentioned about how important that self-care is. And then the other things that I really enjoyed listening to are meditation. So every day taking, could be even 5 minutes. Even 5 minutes has a huge, huge positive impact. I've seen it. So start with 5 minutes, but meditation is so great. And the way you said it. The other thing is journaling practice. So somewhere in the day, incorporating the journaling practice. So, and then the introspection. Yes. And the intentionality is very important in the morning. I think all of our guests mentioned that we must set the tone for our day. So in life, there are so many things that are not in our control. A lot of things, you know, like other people, the struggles they have, the people we live with, and other factors. We have to focus on what we can control. We can control how well we treat ourselves. So we can control whether we show up for our meditation, as you mentioned, whether we do our journaling practice, the early morning affirmations, which I totally agree with, and I've seen the benefits. And the idea is like eating healthy. So what we put into our body, you know, they say your state of mind is highly influenced by what you eat, right? There are different sayings about that. And so you are what you eat. So if we put in things that are healthy, organic, fresh, made with lots of love, then the output in our body, our health will reflect that. And we have control, a lot of control over what we choose to eat. And so making those healthy choices every single day, those are really great points that you mentioned. And the other thing you mentioned is about like self-empowerment, right? And I think that comes back to your coaching background. And so I can see that you have a strong passion for that. So we're going to have to explore that after as well. But the idea that we have to work on ourselves and our potential is unlimited. And so and you also resonate with the other guests where you all mentioned about being positive and not just being a sponge for everybody else's negativity, which can then derail our own best plans and minimize our skills. So I really like all the points you made. There's so much value. I really appreciate the way you explained it as well.
Thank you so
Very,
much.
very clear, and you gave your personal examples, which are amazing. So personally, you all covered a lot of my personal self-care practices. So the first is every day I start out with a good morning routine. So that involves meditation. Meditation is so important. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. You can just sit in silence, check in with your mind and see what is going on in my mind. Does this align with my best self, with my highest values? And if it's not, then we have to work on, try and reorient. So meditation, that could be mindfulness, which is really helpful. And then I always, decluttering your space early in the morning is important. Like, nobody wants to start their day like tripping over yesterday's clothing. So making sure that your space is tidy. And then the next things are, you can do a stretch, or you can see with cats, they wake up, or dogs, and they stretch. So, as humans, we can do a quick stretch. It could be yoga or a stretch. I do yoga. And then after that, you can do some other workouts like weights or whatever you feel is. And it doesn't have to be long, 5-10 minutes. And then the healthy diet, which all of you said, and especially I think Gururaj is a big, he loves to cook and make all these wonderful new inventions for his family. So that morning can be part of your creative practice. So you can create something for breakfast and prepare the meals for the day in the morning. And that's where getting up early really helps. So it'll really help you to organize yourself as early as you can. And that means you have to go to bed early. And going to bed early is also a self-care practice. So if you go out and party all night, well, then you're not going to have energy to do the self-care. So you're going to have to work on that as well, right? So I find over time with practice that those things are important. And for me, I usually end my day with a creative practice. So I'll get out my paints, or it could be cooking, or it could be anything. And like all of you, the nature walks are essential. Even just going and standing out in your balcony and looking at the birds or listening to, the sounds, that will make a huge difference for our self-care. But as all of you said, we must put ourselves first so then we can care for others. So making yourself a priority is the first step. And then starting with the simple things that our guests mentioned are very helpful. So that brings my next question. So while I was on this journey, I found that sometimes it was hard to maintain the self-care practices. So I wanted to ask you, so we'll start with Ranjana, what sort of obstacles came up when you tried to be consistent with your self-care, and how did you get over it? Because that will help our viewers realize, because sometimes they want to do it, but they're afraid because they've failed. So I wanted to know what your, experience is.
Yes. When you are trying to take care of your well-being, there are many factors which try to disrupt it. It could be, some disruption during the day, because you have your day planned, but there could be a disruption which, just spoils the entire schedule. So there was a time when I used to get angry, I used to get flustered if a disruption used to happen. But then I realized that, this is normal, it is going to happen. It should not be affecting me. Let the things be there, let it be there, but I should not get affected, because happiness is a priority for me. And if that is going to get affected, that the entire self-care, it just goes for loss. So what I do is that whenever there is a disruption, or maybe there's a comment which could be negative, which could be hurtful, I say, okay, fine, let it not reach me. I try to block it. Just like you have your spam folder, I also have a spam folder for all these negative things. So I don't let these things remain in the inbox of my file. I just drag them to the spam folder so that it does not reach me. It should not affect me. So it's like a call which I block. Time I have learned to do it, so I don't let it reach me.
So I think
That's
she's
very
having some technical difficulties, but she was explaining that when she gets the negativity, she will then put it to the spam folder and then block those sources of negativity. There were some technical issues. That's why I was recapping. Are you? Are things? Can we hear you now? Yeah, now
Can you
you're
hear me
good.
now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm so sorry because I was talking and I didn't realize that I'm not even reaching you. So
That's okay. It was about, you were talking about the negativity and how you block it and you put it in the spam folder, and that way it doesn't come in the way. And you also mentioned about how the self-care is about happiness. And so if we are doing a self-care practice and we fail, like let's say we say, okay, I'm going to walk, and then we don't get to it, and then we get mad at ourselves all day, and then that defeats the purpose. So remember to be kind to yourself when you're doing the self-care practice. If there is a one day that you don't do it, then just say, that's okay. I give myself a break today. And then go back with a positive attitude and intention the next day, right? Yeah. And so maybe we'll go to Guraj. So Guraj, tell me a bit about the obstacles you encountered when trying to do your self-care.
Yeah, see, in my way of the nature of work, what I do, nothing goes in a planned way. Like earlier, I used to set up a disciplined plan, like morning get up, do some yoga for 10 minutes, then you go for a walk, like that. A scheduled plan used to be there. But when I get up early and I see a message, okay, server broke down, so I need to run around and try fix it. Then some other priority, like my father is ill, so I have to take care of him. So one or the other problem used to come, and my entire schedule was not in a planned way actually. Whatever I was planning, nothing was going as per that. So that is why I started following this self care consciousness. Like always be conscious about your health, about self care. So whenever, like when I'm cooking and when the vegetable is boiling, so I'll be jumping in front of the stove and walking around here and there. That is a kind of an exercise what I do. And whenever I get some time, I walk. Whenever I get a long mobile call, when I have to speak to people for a longer time, then I take my mobile and go for a long walk here and there, up and down. So that's kind of an exercise what happens indirectly. Then whenever I get time, drink water, and whenever I used to talk to my friends, only I listen to lots of jokes and smile along with them. So keeping my mind happy and jovial with them, and I will never get into fight with anybody. So I don't watch these negative things in any movie or a video or social media. Whenever I see something which is not good for the society, I don't see that. I don't even open that mail or video. So I just watch what is good and what is good for the society, and which is beneficial for the society, and which is happy, which is comedy kind of a thing. So this keeps me always active in my day-to-day life. So every day from morning till evening, I'll be thinking about self-care, and I will do some or the other thing in my routine activity here and there, but not in a in a specified time. Like morning 10 o'clock I should have my breakfast, or 1 o'clock I should have my lunch. So that I cannot follow that kind of a strict rule. but my conscious always prompts me to do some or the other time whenever I'm free here and there. So I start doing those kind of activities.
Wow, that's really great. So I see both of you have a contrasting but beautiful tips about we're dealing with when our self-care plan doesn't go according to what we thought. And so Ranjana Ben was saying identify the things that derail it and block it. And I see your approach is you tend to go with the flow, but you're more consistent with your intention. So the intention of being happy, which is important because with your, you're that sandwich generation, like you have to care for the elder parents, plus you have to deal with the kids. So you're in the middle, like the sandwich, right? So for you, the flexibility works well, right? So it'll depend on our lifestyle, life stage, and all that as well. So for you, that helps. So you have a basic idea in your mind, but you're not too rigid about it. And then you're able to accomplish it. And sometimes you incorporate different self-care goals together. So walking around and walking is part of cooking, or walking is part of talking to the long business call that you get, right? That's a great idea, actually. So yeah, I like that. And so tell me, Sam, about the obstacles you encountered with your self-care and how you were able to overcome them.
Yes, I love both of your points, by the way. I love that, you just choose not to listen to any negativity and you put it in your spam folder in your mind. I love that concept. And then I love, what he said about just being, again, being mindful about what you're doing, what thoughts you're putting into your mind, because it's so important to remember that we can control our thoughts. Our thoughts don't control us. We can control them. And one big thing to also remember that you both mentioned is being patient with yourself, giving yourself a break sometimes. Sometimes you just don't. Well, like I said before, every day is different, right? Every day you wake up, you're going to feel different. And so maybe you just don't feel like doing your self-care routine. And if you don't do it, it's okay. Don't beat yourself up over it. Don't take it personally for yourself. But just remember the bigger concept of why you chose to start doing these things for yourself. And one important thing that helped me a lot when I was first starting is keeping a mindful journal and really thinking about, okay, what were my feelings before this? Before I started doing these things for myself, how did I feel? How do I feel after? And then look at my own notes. And then it's kind of like me telling myself, listen, this is why you started this. This is why you're doing this. And it reminds me, kind of me telling myself that these are things that you're doing for yourself, and these are things that of why you're doing it, because you feel so much better compared to before. A couple more things that I did that really helped me was when I first was doing my affirmations, I recorded myself saying these affirmations on my phone. Then every morning, I literally, like, maybe right after I get up, maybe like within 5 minutes, I push play on my phone and I just listen to myself and then I repeat it back. That was one really helpful thing for me, because I feel like a lot of us learn in different ways. Some people, it may be different. Maybe you want to write it down and then read it back, but saying them out loud is so important to do. Because when we listen to ourselves talking the way we talk, then we all of a sudden just start to become that. It starts to become our identity. We start to become a healthy, happy person, right? Because we're telling ourselves that that's what we are. Even if you don't feel like that's what you are, if you keep telling yourself that, you will eventually get to that point and you will become what you want to be through affirmations, self-belief. So that's one thing that really helps me, and just being mindful and being patient with myself, just remembering that it's okay if there's one day where I don't do it or a couple days where I don't do it. But I always come back to it because I always remember how good I feel when I do those things versus when I don't do those things. Because it kind of throws my day off, and it really, it helps me being more in control about my emotions instead of letting other people control my emotions. That's one big reason why I started my self-care journey, because I was tired of letting outside events and outside people control my emotions, me getting upset over these things. I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to just be able to take life as it is, because every bad stuff is going to happen and it's relevant. And so when that stuff happens, I have more of a control of my mind versus before when I didn't. And that's what self-care does for you. It allows you to be able to really get to know yourself and really know your mind, and really have, we can never really control our minds, but we can do certain things to try to have more control over our thoughts. And even though these are just mundane little things that seem to be mundane and seem to be silly sometimes, if you keep doing them on a daily, consistent basis, things will happen. Little things get to be big things down the road. You just have to be consistent, and you have to be patient with yourself. So those are the tips that I have for you guys.
That's really great. So I love the way that you mentioned about the journaling practice. And another thing we could do is we could add a number. Like if you're doing it in a calendar or something, just add a number. Okay, went for a walk. Before the walk, how did I feel? Like my energy, right? And then after the walk, like you could number it, right? So where 10 is energetic and 0 is really not energetic. So say they felt like a 2 out of 10. And then after the walk, they felt 8 out of 10, right? And if you keep track, you can realize. And then the other thing you can do is also just do that for different activities as an experiment initially. So let's say you wanted to take up a self-care practice, and you think that going out, with friends to, have lunch, or talking on the phone, or I don't know, visiting elderly relatives like grandparents, like all these things are good for you, right? And walking. And then if you rate them, you might find that some of the things you thought were good for you were actually making you feel low. Like you talk to your friends and then you feel low because you're comparing, right? So then you can sort out, okay, these are not good for me and these are good for me. And then you can adjust accordingly. So I really like the idea of journaling and having that self-reflection piece. That's really good. I really like that.
And I'm so sorry. Can I just say one more thing? I totally forgot. It was a really important thing I was going to say. Just one more thing. I look at self-care not as an act that we do for ourselves, like taking a bath, taking ourselves out for dinner, going out to dinner with a friend. Those are all great things too, because it all nurtures our self-care, right? But ultimately, how I look at self-care is it's a choice that I make every day for myself, and it's also more about like your identity as a person. That you're a person that puts themselves first. And that's also how I look at it. It's not just acts of things that I do. It is the reason why I do these things is because I am this person that puts myself first.
Right. And that brings up an interesting question. So I'll pose that one to Ranjana. So the question that comes up from her, what she said is that, I don't know about you guys, but where I was raised, some of the parent figures were like sacrificing their whole life for us and showing that, which is noble, right? So that inherently made self-care have the connotation that is selfish, to put yourself first, right? Especially with parents. People have this expectation. So I was wondering how you got over that idea in society that self-care is selfish, Like how could you how could a mom, go and, take some time off,
Right.
So what do you think about that, Ranjana? Like, how did you get, because it's a pervasive thing in the society.
The self-care is not selfish. It's not being selfish, because, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So unless we are well nourished, unless we take care of our well-being, we'll not be able to function well. So I think it's a very selfless activity rather than selfish activity.
That's nice. I like the way you explained it. Very simply put, but beautiful. That's right. And so, Gururaj, yes, with society and people are saying, how to be like, oh, I sacrificed so much for you. And it becomes like a thing, right? So how do you balance that notion, like when people think that self-care is selfish?
Yeah, this again comes to the question of expectation. Okay, like for example, if somebody says that I have done so much thing for you and you have not done anything for me, That means there lies an expectation from somebody. Okay, so the self-care is is something like it is not selfish definitely, but it is like taking care of yourself so that you can support somebody, you can help somebody. Okay, first you should be fit and you should do good, then only you will be capable of helping others. Okay, so the selfishness when it comes is where if you are taking care of yourself with some selfishness in your life, with some expectation, like okay, I should be good and I should take care of my son so that tomorrow son will grow well and he will take care of me. So that is self care with selfishness. Okay, so you should always be caring yourself. So by thinking that if you are good, so that you can support others and you can keep others happy. Okay, so self care with self without selfishness is great thing. So that is what I feel that we should follow.
Right. That's interesting. So tell me about your view, Sam.
Yeah, so I get this question a lot actually about is self-care selfish? So I personally do not have kids. I have a lot of nieces and nephews. I love children. But the mistake that I see a lot of people making, especially as parents, and I'm saying this, that I'm sure it's definitely not easy, but we tend to put our children first. Now, I know this is not going to be a very popular opinion, but I feel that children should be equal to you. Not first, but they should be equal to you. Other than your children, no one else should be equal to you, even your partner. And your partner, if your partner loves you and respects you, like the way they're supposed to, they know that they are first in their eyes, and then we're second. Same with me. I love my partner, but he knows that I come first and he's second. And he knows that because that's the way it should be. No one should be equal or before you unless it's your children. Your children should be equal to you. So I love the point that I think that Rajna said about how toxic parents, right? They they'll say, well, I did all this for you, I sacrificed for you, so you need to take care of me. That's not being helpful, right? That's toxic. That's a toxic relationship. That's putting guilt and blame and obligation on your children. That's not what you want to do. And so if you sacrifice so much for your kids, you're going to have that resentment towards them, and you don't want resentment towards your kids. And so that's what I'm saying is that kids should definitely be a priority to you, but they should not come before you, because if you do that, if you put anyone before, you're going to have resentment towards them eventually. It's just human nature, and you definitely don't have resentment towards your children. And so that's I'll say that about that point. But overall, if you're a simple person like I am, and you're struggling with the idea of self-care being selfish, just remember, just look at everyone that you look up to, like as a role model or a public figure, whether it's an author or an inspirational speaker or a therapist that you look up to. Do you think that they think that self-care is selfish? No, because they invested in themselves. If they didn't do that, they wouldn't be able to be where they're at right now. So they're definitely taking care of themselves first.
Some issue with her
I
network.
think
Yeah, there was a
there we go.
technical difficulty. So you were saying that self-care is definitely not selfish. Yeah, and I didn't mean in that toxic parent, but I meant the idea of altruism, and that in society, especially in some cultures, it's a big thing, right? Like that you have to, put yourself before others. But the underlying part of that is that we need to be well in order to be there for them. So as Guru Raj had said, to be a good son, he needs to be healthy. And without being healthy, he'll be a burden to his family. So, putting his self-care first is going to be essential, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we'll wrap up. We lost one of our participants, but let's wrap up. So in parting, I wanted to ask you all if you could leave a valuable tip for our viewers about self-care. One little thing they can change today that can really transform their lives, because as they say, the journey of 1,000 steps, 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So I'd like to know your view about which little step you think would help our viewers.
Yeah. First, I will tell you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to give two tips. One is drink lots of water. If possible, a lukewarm water, a little bit hot water, like a coffee, every day, whenever you get time. So keep practicing that. Keep practicing drinking a hot water every day in your daytime. So that is one. Second one, always be away from negative things. Keep your mind happy and clean, so that and always think of taking care of your health. So this thinking itself will drive you to do some good, take some good initiative in your life to become healthy. So these are all the 2 points what I want to
Wonderful.
tell.
I love that. Beautiful. So drinking water and definitely
We lost you. We are
making
unable to.
looking at. Okay, great. So tell me, Ranjana, what your one tip is for the viewers. Just a parting tip. So one little step they can take. Okay, so can you share with our viewers one little tip that if you think will transform their lives from your view?
Yeah, I'd love to. Basically, I'm going to give this is what I tell all of my clients to do, and this is what I also did when I started. If you say you want to lose some weight, say you want to go run a marathon or you want to write a book, any big goal that you want to do, ask yourself why you want to do it and see what comes out. Write it down. And any goal that you have, break it up into small steps that you can take in order to accomplish that. Say you want to lose some weight. Okay, great. What can we do in order to start that journey for you? Whether it's cutting out sugar for a week, excess sugar, or if it's cutting out going out to eat every for a week, and then go from there. Just remember to be patient with yourself, be consistent, to try to be consistent, even if it's just one thing per week that you're trying to do, and don't try to do too much too fast, because if you do that, you're not going to be able to keep up, because we're not able to make a lot of change all at once. We got to be patient. We got to be consistent.
That's beautiful. I really like that idea of just one little thing that we can change per day. So setting yourself up for success, and then it's positively reinforcing. It'll make you want to do more if you can just do. And so for that, I find like a lot of people will find like if they just meditate in the morning first thing, that can make a big difference. So little tiny changes will help. And sometimes setting your intention, like if you just set an intention that today I will not touch my mobile as soon as I get up, I'll go for a walk, right? I mean, that little change will lead to a lot of other changes. And so, yeah, that would definitely be important. And the other thing is self-compassion. So if you missed one day, it's okay. I find personally, if you miss 2 days in a row, it's really easy to continue missing the good habits. So always allowing yourself that one day here and there to miss, and being really kind with your self-talk. And so, Ranjana, what would be the one thing you would recommend to our viewers to start off this self-care journey?
I think something very simple one can do to be away from the negativity, that is spend time in learning something new every day, so that if you are focused on learning something new, the energy will be on that, and you will divert your focus from the negativity that is surrounding you. and make happiness your priority.
Beautiful. That's so wonderful. I love those tips, all of you. And your tips about learning, and for me also that involves learning is fun, right? So turning this whole journey of self-care into what can I learn, right? And when you learn, there's going to be mistakes, and that's okay. Just like a child learning to walk, you're going to fall down
Yeah.
once in a while, and that's fine. That's part of the process. So I like that idea, and also making it fun will help, right? Anything fun, we just will be gravitating towards it. So if you're just starting the journey, starting with something fun. Like if you like to play badminton, play, anything that will really get you going. If you love to cook or eat, then start cooking, right? Like little things that are fun, or if you like to draw and paint, do that. That fun aspect will definitely propel you. And I really appreciate all of your tips. You all made a huge difference for everyone, because all the little tips you shared are going to uplift people who are struggling, and you're sharing the wisdom of your journey. So today you made a lot of difference in a lot of people's lives, and I'm grateful for that. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
having me. I really enjoyed, conversing with all of you. You guys were all awesome.
Yeah, thank you all
for
so
having
much.
Thank you so much for having us. And thank you, Dr. Shanti Rao, Sam, Guru Raj. I mean, we are going to carry back a lot of new insights today. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate all of you, Sam, Gururaj, and Ranjana, for sharing your valuable tips and being very, authentic about your journey. So that it's so relatable for everyone, and you'll inspire many to make positive changes. So take care.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you
great
so
week.
much. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Bye.
watching.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you for watching.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.